Welcome to Bulleteer Hangouts. Bulleteer Hangouts is a regular chat get-together from listeners of the Raging Bullets podcast. And basically, these are Google Hangouts that have been recorded for their audio. These are not meant to be podcast episodes. These are uncut, unedited, except for taking out some pauses. The idea is for people who aren't able to attend these to be able to listen to them and be a part of the discussions. And hopefully it'll encourage people to come to some of the other ones. So hopefully you enjoy this. I want to thank all the great people for putting this together. I was lucky enough to be a part of this first one, and I will pop in from time to time as well. But it's really cool for our listening audience to be able to enjoy these, and I hope the general public, maybe who doesn't listen to our show regularly. This Raging Bullets is regularly a DC Comics fan podcast. We chat mostly about DC Comics. We'll occasionally do some episodes outside that, but it's really a fan geek out about comics in general. Bulleteer Hangouts aren't limited to those restrictions, and they can certainly go anywhere and everywhere when it comes to comic and geek culture. So I'm hoping you guys really enjoy this, and here's the first episode. Following any of the news about this villains event that's coming. I mean, because I took it as being a 1 month thing. I had no idea that this thing was going to turn into like a whole like huge event that was going to incorporate the entire universe. I figured it was like a 1 month, like, because they've done a lot of these before, these 1 month events. And I didn't think it was going to lead into like a mini series and something that was going to change the entire universe. Were you guys thinking that route for this?
It's not just one miniseries, is it? There's four.
Yeah, it's an August, one for Rogues, the main miniseries, and one for Batman Arkham.
But the main one is the John's miniseries, right?
Yep.
Correct. Second parter.
Yeah, John's and David Finch on art.
I'm really curious about that Argus because it can go really a lot of directions.
Guys, we're getting
Argus
that.
has been my favorite.
Guys, are you still getting that background noise?
Yeah, I am.
Because I'm on my record end. Like, we're getting more of that than anything.
The 7-issue main miniseries is going to focus on Lex Luthor, and there's rumours going that when the whole thing finishes, there's going to be an ongoing series of villains.
So like a Lex Luthor based series.
That'd be awesome.
I mean,
He's a character who I think there's a lot of room to explore in a monthly. Like, I would like to see more villains have... I mean, I don't want all of them to have their own series, but somebody like Lex Luthor, there's so much of his life that I think would be interesting to explore.
Mm-hmm. Well, the main thing about Lex Luthor is that he doesn't actually see himself as a bad guy, does he?
No, he sees himself as the hero of the universe.
He sees himself as the only person.
no, he's a good guy. Well, like he sees himself as protecting. Yeah. From Superman. So, I mean, it's an interesting idea. And then if you read Action Comics, a lot of the stuff they've been going into lately with like him having his psychiatrist locked up, it would make for a good, that would make for a great series. Just like every issue, him talking to a psychologist about, I guess, his day.
Now, what do you guys think about the focus on smaller heroic characters? Because of the fact that the main heroes that we've been reading for all these books, what do you guys think of this focus on the smaller characters? And is there anybody in particular you would like them to focus on that maybe we haven't seen much of?
Well, I was really upset they're not doing a special Dr. Double X issue.
Yeah, I would like to see that too. What about the rest of you? Any characters that are standing out that you'd like to see, or do you like the idea of the focus on obviously, it's going to have to be characters we haven't seen much of at all yet, right? If they're clearing everybody out.
I would like to see it with end of Justice League Dark #1. They had that whole Enchantress thing. I would like to see more of her.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, I mean, now we can see smaller Batman characters come up the front, like Harper Row, and probably Jonah Hex is going to be in because he's coming to the present. So.
Oh, I didn't think of that. I wonder if this would provide an opportunity for him to be able to take like a center stage in modern day because of the fact that everybody else is off the table. This might explain that.
Well, I kind of look at it as kind of a Streets of Gotham, where you sort of Commissioner Gordon, Batman's gone and all the rest of this. So look at the police, policemen even focus on Metro or Metropolis Police. Some of the lower people that we just don't focus on because of these, superheroes.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, also we could see some villains become quasi-heroes, I guess. I mean,
Well, isn't that the theory behind what they're doing with the Rogues miniseries? That they aren't joining this secret society thing, and they're a bit suspicious of the whole thing, and it could come down to a Rogues v Society battle.
See, I like that because, see, to me, it would be if you're a villain and you're part of it, to like have them all just all of a sudden band together and that all works makes no sense to me. It's not in their nature. Yeah. It would make sense that people like the Rogues who have already been together would naturally bond together and not be a part of that. But I wonder, besides the Rogues, what other villains might not play nice with this whole group.
Oh, I don't see a few of the Arkham guys. I probably wouldn't see do it. Like, you got guys like Black Mask or Two-Face who just want to rule the underworld. They really don't care about the whole ruling the supervillain world. I mean...
And Joker plays by his own rules anyway, so...
Well, that's what I always found a bit odd about the pre-New 52 Society, when the ruling council, so to speak, was Lex Luthor, Deathstroke, Vandal Savage, and Cersei. All characters that, and Black Adam, were not followers. They would all want to be the person who's in charge. So I think Black Adam won't be a follower. Cersei, if they decide to bring her back, she ain't going to want to be part of no team.
Yeah, the Justice League cartoon limited very well when they had Lex Luthor eventually betray Gorilla Grodd.
Well, this is just it. They are all out for themselves. So the whole idea of a society is kind of counterintuitive to criminal matter.
What was that? Who got like,
yeah.
Sounds like a pterodactyl was coming in.
Sorry, I'm at work. And I just went to a noisy spot.
Wait. On that note, I got to know, what do you do at work?
I actually work in the theater. That is the sound of 35mm film projectors.
Oh, cool. What are you watching?
Whoa, that's awesome.
I would like to be watching Man of Steel, and I was about 2 minutes away from getting it today. But UPS lost half of the movie, and it won't come until tomorrow.
Oh no!
How do you lose half of a movie?
It's shipped in separate parts on film.
We lost half of him.
His bosses found out he had a camera and they just sacked him.
I'm kind of wondering now if maybe like you found Man of Steel and like forget you guys. I would too.
Well, I don't know if it makes me a geek or not, but I've made plans to see Superman 3 times in 4 days.
Oof, I think I might go see it twice.
Wait,
I'll travel down to London for one of them.
What is your plan? I got to hear this plan. 3 times in 4 days. Like, how are you working this out? Because you've got like a I like this strategy.
On Friday, I'm going to see it with friends from work.
Okay.
On Sunday, I'm going to see it with friends from just around where I live. And then on the Monday, I'm going down to London where I used to live to see it with friends down there.
Nice.
Now, Paul, we're curious.
Yeah, I'm back. What's up?
We're curious. Did you find the second half of the movie? Is that why you dropped off?
No. Sorry. It comes in 2 separate containers. UPS missorted the second container. It's not coming until tomorrow. They found it. They know where it is.
They're watching it.
They only have every other.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Yeah, they're going to.
Now, when you say it comes in 2 separate containers, does that mean you have a portion of it that you can watch, or does it mean that you need the other part in order to actually watch it?
I could watch every other 20 minutes, starting with the first. I may watch the first 20 minutes.
Oh, is that how it works? It's like 20 minutes of the film, then you're missing like a second part, but you have the third part.
It's approximately 20-minute increments. This one runs.
Yeah, that's a pretty good security measure.
2 hours and 30 minutes. It's about 7 or 8 parts. I have part 1, 3, 5, and 7.
So how long's the film?
I think it's 147 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it's around there. 220 something.
Not long enough.
Now, working in the theater, do you have any kind of a vibe as far as the excitement for this film for the general public? Because I'm fascinated by that end of it.
The public is never what you think they are. Has anybody here worked in customer service? You can probably relate. But lots of people are talking about it, even if what they're saying is very strange at times. But most of the people seem to be excited.
Yeah, technically, I worked in retail for a decade before I was teaching, and then teaching in its own way is a form of customer service. So, I mean, I get that end of it. Because I can't believe that based on the early buzz on sales for this, that they're already, they're pushing through heavily the sequel.
Well, that's already been confirmed, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's rumors that they already have writer tapped for the Justice League.
Is that David Goyer or something like that?
Yeah. That's the rumor.
Oh, if they got Goyer on Justice League, I mean, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, but it's a rumor.
Yeah.
Again, it all just depends on Nolan's involvement, though.
Yeah.
See, to me though, the holdup, every time you've heard about a holdup with Justice League, it's been script. Like, every single time you hear it, you hear that there's no script, or they're not happy with something with the script. So, if they've got Goyer involved, at least in making the script, if that's actually going to go through, at least if they can get a good script, I think you're going to get a director attached to it. I hope.
Well, would they push, say they get the script done, would they push the Justice League before Del Toro's Justice League Dark movie, or would they want to put Dark out first and then Justice League?
The word is the second Superman movie, then Justice League.
Which would make sense if they've already green-lighted the second Man of Steel. Because I know that there rumors that I've heard were they were afraid that a Justice League film might ruin this franchise. So they've already green-lighted the second Man of Steel movie. They might be trying to, just bank on the fact that people seem very excited about this. They want to give it what Batman's had and use that as a way to hopefully lead into. And I'm just speculating on that, but I think that would be a great way to get this ball rolling, to use this Man of Steel film and all the excitement behind it to launch Justice League. I hope.
Well, I think that what's taken so long with the Justice League film is, I don't know if any of you've seen it, but quite a while ago, they done actually like a Justice League pilot film, and it was awful. And it killed any sort of franchise that comic had dead in the water. It was just one of the worst things I've ever seen, and as a Justice League fan, it hurt. And I think they're so scared of getting it wrong that it will be another 30 years before they can try again.
Well, that was a whole era of films like that, though. If you look back at that time, there was a lot of attempts from fans and from people just to get films made. And I think one of the things that they've learned with recent films, that script and the right actors and the right directors are so important to treating these franchises. You can't just plop the name of the character on there and expect it to be successful. Because, we as fans have seen and been burned so many times with franchises gone wrong that but they've seen, look at the dollar amounts that these movies are generating now. If anybody, let's go a decade ago, just a decade ago, if anybody had told you that comic book movies would be making consistently the kind of money that they are now, we would have never believed it. Not on this level.
Especially when it's getting close to $1 billion just for, the Avengers.
Oh, and it deserves every penny of that. That movie was phenomenal.
And is that just in worldwide cinema ticket sales or in merchandising as well?
I think that's just
cinematic. That's the movie.
Well, then how much have they made from deals with fast food restaurants and merchandising for that sort of thing. That's basically, that one film has paid for their next 6 films about Marvel Comics.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
What do
He's
you
also
guys
favors Star Wars.
What do you
Don't go
guys
there.
hope for Man of Steel? Like, what are you guys like most hoping that this film's going to deliver? How do you hope that people view Superman after this?
As what he should be. He may, I mean, it's a bit different for us over here when people say, oh, he's the clean-cut American hero, he's America's apple pie, because it doesn't really relate to us. But he still is the #1 hero in any universe, and that's hopefully what he'll be portrayed as. Also, as someone that can punch the crap out of anything, that'd be nice.
Well, from earlier reviews, it seems like he can punch the crap out of anybody. Or anything.
I just want to see him becoming a ideal for hope, I guess. Just show the world that all superheroes don't have to be grim, dark, or sarcastic assholes.
Well, I think that's where they've gone wrong with Superman films before. They've seen how successful Batman is as this dark, grim, dramatic, doom-laden individual. I think that's the way to go for heroes. If you try and attach that to a Superman film, it's going to fail from the start, because that's not what he's about. Superman is about flying up in front of the sun for the big epic Photoshop picture, and then punching something really hard.
Have you seen in the trailer the part where he punches Zod? I mean, there's a trade-off where he's punched and he punches Zod. That to me, a lot of the trailers of this are taking me back to being a kid again, because I remember seeing the Christopher Reeve movie and just being like blown away and wanting to fly and stuff like that. And I look back fondly on those films, but I don't think they've given, and this is not a knock on those films because they have this an amazing soft spot just like they do for so many fans. But it's been so long since they've had that kind of spot for me. Nowadays, though, when I see that, like when I see him take off and fly in this, I want to fly. When I see him punch, I believe that it's happening. And I think that's been the key with the cinematography on this and with the way this thing's been crafted. It makes me believe that this guy is actually doing those things, and it looks so different than what I've seen from other heroes in other films, which is something else that appeals.
Well, I'm coming in sort of, like I said, as a Batman fan, so this is my real first experience with, Superman as, basically the Dr. Manhattan of the DC universe. So for me, I'm just, I want to, experience something that I just, I haven't seen before, and hopefully, it translates to me actually, getting into the comics.
So you're looking this is like a jump-on point into the comics for you. This is like your gateway into getting to know the character and maybe making a connection.
Correct, because like I said, I've always loved Batman because I can relate to him. He's just, if I had the money, I'd basically do the same thing too. But I'm not gonna wake up one day and be basically God and just do whatever I want. So that's if this movie can make it sort of relatable for me, then yeah, I could definitely see this as a jumping on point for me as sort of getting into Superman and the mythology and just that sort of deal.
You know what? Well, Wes just said that he's not currently a Superman reader. I'm currently obviously reading Superman. Is there anybody else here who's not a current of any of the Superman books? You don't read any of them.
I just started reading Superman and Supergirl, but I've only 2 issues in on both.
Okay. Isaiah, what about you? Are you currently reading Superman?
Yeah, I read Action Comics all the way to Morrison's finale, and then I started on Superman with the 0 issue, and I've been liking Lobdell and Rockefeller's run a lot.
Mark, are you reading Superman right now?
I'm getting every single comic that comes out.
You're after my own heart. Paul,
I don't get out much.
Apparently I don't either, so we're in the same category, except I'm envious of your plan for seeing the movie.
Well, actually, I didn't used to read Superman or Batman or the New 52 because you'd walk into the shop and it's like, oh, Action Comics 728, and you're like, I'm going nowhere near that.
Yeah.
Then the New 52 come along, started afresh, bang, straight into the beginning.
So you're someone who
Yeah, I'm
actually.
in the same boat. I really did.
So the New 52 actually, and it sounds like Isaiah for you too. The New 52 actually was a draw for you because of the new start and like an entry point into all this.
Yeah, like I never really read. Well, I would read trades and stuff I would like get from the library or when I would go to Borders, but like I never really thought about reading comics monthly. And then DC was like, we're relaunching everything starting from #1. I picked up Justice League #1 and Action Comics and seeing like from the universe where it's starting from. So I just started adding a whole bunch of titles, and here I am reading like 13 titles a month.
Paul, what about you? Have you been previously a Superman reader? Is this something new for you?
I really wasn't that big of a Superman fan. Like I read a few of the like probably more prominent stories. Like I really like Red Sun and Secret Identity, but I always found that older Superman, like you're awesome, the guy you look to for inspiration. I always like the Boy Scout. I always found him too, I guess, bland and boring. So I really like the New 52. He's not afraid to punch back, or he has more of a flair to him.
And I'm not saying that I never picked up Superman. I think I've picked up pretty much everything. It's just that I've never actually paid attention to read it. It's just, it's there. I just, I'm so into, the Batline and even Wonder Woman and Aquaman, for goodness sake. I thought he just talked to fish. And now I'm just, I'm getting into the others and Mira and just the First King and all this mythology that just, Superman's just sort of been in the back burner for me.
I think Isaiah just said something really interesting about that. Before the New 52 came along, Superman was a bit bland, and it's like, oh look, it's basically a man who is God walking the earth. How you do an interesting story with that? And then all of a sudden the New 52 kicks in, and it starts off with him being this young bloke from the boonies with a right chip on his shoulder, and it just draws you in. And that's what I'd like people to get from when they see this film, that Superman isn't just this goody two-shoes, one-dimensional person. There is a character behind Superman.
My favorite Superman comics have always shown that, though. I think that Superman, a lot of times, in people's mind, he has this image that he's not human, he's not accessible. I think when they acknowledge the Clark Kent side of him, and we get to see the fact that there is a man there who was raised by human parents, but he has these powers. And also with that, he has like this identity and this responsibility that to kind of be in a leadership role. I think that's part of what's interesting about him. I like the vulnerability of him. I like that he's human. I like that he sometimes makes mistakes. But that unlike, and I love Batman. I'm a Batman junkie. He's my guy. But I like that unlike Batman, he has a public persona that he has to think about. And that's what makes him interesting to read to me, is that public side of him. He has to take that into account. Whereas Batman can just say, I'm going back to my cave and you're just going to deal with, talk to the hand. Which I like that about Batman. It's not a knock. But if you're going to take another character and make him one of your figureheads,
deal with it.
You got it. That's exactly right. And I think that works so well for him. It's the distinction with Superman. And I think it's important in the film. They really need to capture, why is he unique? Why should people care about him? And so far from what I've seen from the trailers, they're nailing that.
Yeah, with the trailers, you see him whenever he's a small kid, as he's growing up, that older kid pushing him into the fence. So it seems like that first half of the movie is going to be about that growing up and that humanity that he's getting from being on Earth.
What do you guys think about this rumor that...
And I think that's the main difference between Batman and...
What do you guys think about this rumor...
Hello?
You there? Okay. What do you guys think about this thing that Krypton may not be destroyed?
I think it is going to be destroyed. I think they came out and said that now.
Okay.
It better be.
I guess that's what I was getting at. Is that, do you consider that a deal breaker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's like the most pivotal thing to his origin story. Is like he's apparently the last person in his race, so it's more upon him to use his power as to be more careful with his power. Once you bring in a whole another planet of Kryptonians, he loses that specialness, but with like a sorted few like Zod or Feora, it brings in a duality of why Superman is such a great person. He's lived on Earth all this time, and he sees it as his home.
I don't think Krypton not blowing up would be a complete deal breaker, but it would be akin to Batman's parents not being murdered.
What about relationships with Superman? Like, do you want? Obviously, there was in one of the trailers I saw, there was a kiss between him and Lois. How much of that relationship do you want to see in the film? Is that something you want to see lightly explored? Do you want to see their friendship / relationship develop more in the film? What do you want to see out of that?
You don't want to rush it, especially now that a sequel's being done. You have that time to fully explore it. So with the first movie, you can do it lightly, then the second movie really explore it.
Yeah, I think I'm assuming that Lois is going to get more time with Superman than Clark in this movie. So I think it'd be an interesting dynamic to have those two have a relationship, and then kind of bring Clark in. It's just like Lois's best friend, and kind of like the whole she's in love with her best friend, but she doesn't even know it, and just kind of play that off for the sequel.
None of that Dean Cain Terry Hatcher nonsense. I'm just telling you because that's the only experience my mom had with superheroes was the adventures of Lois and Clark, and I just hated that show, and that might have helped turn me off of Superman a little bit.
Oh, I love that show. 5 o'clock every Saturday afternoon on BBC One. That was brilliant.
I loved Lois and Clark. Actually, Jim's head's exploding because I know that was one of his favorite shows. But one thing you do make a point with though, Wesley, is we don't see a lot of Clark Kent in this. So obviously it's going to be clearly different than stuff like that because I don't know how much even the Clark Kent persona, the duality. Like, I haven't seen anything in the trailers to indicate that there's a Daily Planet-ish persona for this guy yet. That may not even come to the end of the film. Do you want to see an establishment of a Clark Kent in this? Or do you want it all to be about Superman? Because I don't know that there is going to be that.
Well, like I said, we had an establishment of Clark Kent, but that was more Superman Returns. We all know what happened with that movie. So, like I said, let's start with just Kal-El first, and let him build into Clark Kent maybe sometime in the second movie.
I'd say take the cues from Action Comics and Birthright, where Clark Kent is a reporter, but he doesn't work for the Daily Planet. So just have him working for like the Daily Star or just his travels around the world. He's writing up reports, and by the end of the movie, just say he got hired at the Daily Planet.
But would it add more to his humanity if he was actually working at the Daily Planet during Man of Steel? Since he has that job, he's interacting with people.
Well, I think the film, from what you can watch on the trailers, it looks like they're going to be establishing his humanity, so to speak, through the film. It seems like he's spending the beginning of the film away from humanity. He's doing working like deep sea fishing on an oil rig or something like that. And then as Zod turns up, he has to come into the world, so to speak, and that's when he starts establishing it.
So,
completely missed watching it.
I don't know. I think the first part of the movie, we're going to see Clark in his travels. In the second part of the movie, we're going to see Clark the reporter. Because if you look at a lot of the trailers, we're seeing stuff in Smallville when Superman is first coming out, and you see he's arrested by the military. But then we're also seeing a lot of set pieces that take place in the Daily Planet. When we're seeing the Daily Planet, we're seeing Perry and Jenny Olsen. So I think we're going to see half and half.
Well, it's not Jimmy Olsen, it's Jenny Olsen now.
Yeah, Jenny.
Does stuff like that bother you? Because it didn't bother me at all, but I don't know, like, where are you guys at? Does that, like, do you want it to be Jimmy, or what do you think?
It's a different universe, so things can change. Because, is it Lawrence Fishburne playing Perry White?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Is it Lawrence Fishburne that's playing Perry White?
Yeah, I really like that.
That's actually a good move.
It doesn't really matter if it's Jimmy or Jenny and if Perry is white or black. It's a different universe. It's a different story. Just go with what fits that story. And if he is going to be an excellent Perry White, more power to him. I think the best example of that was the Daredevil film, when Michael Duggan was Kingpin. That was absolutely perfect. It fit perfectly. So, no.
Alternate universes.
Exactly. And also, what I have noticed...
Different races. I mean, some of my... So, I mean, it's comic books. You could do whatever you really want.
I have noticed as well from the trailers that I think the first film is going to be Henry Cavill without his top on.
Well, I see the thing about him is, and one of the things, like, he looks like he's Superman. And I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about in general. There's something when you see him in the costume, like when I first saw the image of the costume, I'm like, oh, we're kind of like veering away from like the comic book style outfit. I don't know how I feel about it. The more shots I've seen in him in that outfit, he has sold me. The whole look and everything. I think of him now as Superman more than I think of him as the actor, which I think is a real pivotal key to this working. You want to believe this guy, when you're done with this thing, is Superman.
Well, you got the perfect template in Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
like I said, it's hard to jump from the pinnacle of this actor can be Tony Stark to now we got this quintessential basically superhero, and we still think of Christopher Reeves, and some people may still think of George, George, and but it's been 20 years. It's been really 20 years since we've had somebody really put on those tights and say, hey, you can believe that this guy is Superman.
Yeah, I think that's
Superman, as opposed to Brandon Routh, who was playing as Christopher Reeve. And I think Brandon Routh really looked like Christopher Reeves, but he couldn't pull it off.
What just happened there?
Oh,
Are we having like a public? Huh?
I'm in the library.
Are you really?
Yeah.
What are they announcing?
Soprano is going to be coming up to do a show at 10 o'clock.
Can we watch?
You need to buy a ticket.
Isn't that copyright infringement?
Because like we can like announce it afterwards. You say you get to listen to us chat, and then afterwards Soprano.
That's another podcast though. So
Well, but Mark said he wanted longer shows. I'm trying to work this out.
Longer shows about comics, not some person I've ever heard of singing something I don't know.
Mark.
So
It could be fantastic. You don't even know. You got to give it a chance. This could be the new 50.
I think you guys do the pop culture podcast once in a while. Something outside of the DC mainstream.
Well, here's what we could do. We could watch Soprano and then do a review of it.
Who is Soprano?
It sounds like a great name for a new villain.
he teamed up with Crazy Quilt.
They just interrupted us, so why not?
Soprano and the like with the violin.
opera, soprano type singing.
Yeah.
Probably.
Like la 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 la.
Jeremy, what do you hope the most from this film? Because I know you wanted to say something before. What do you hope the most from this movie?
From the early reviews I've been seeing and reading and all that, it seems like a lot of critics, whatever stock you want to put in that, is always referring back to Christopher Reeves and Brendan Routh and all that. I think for this movie to really succeed, I want to watch it and say, okay, this is the pinnacle of a Superman movie where we can still honor the past, but this is really how it should be moving forward and not have to always refer back to the good old days.
I live in a neighborhood that, basically they don't even know there was a first or second or third, whatever Superman. This is really their first, experience. And I've been pushing hard saying, hey, let's go see this thing because, this is one of those generational, things that come, once in once in a lifetime stuff feels like for people. That first experience of of a superhero on the film, and so like the same thing back when Christopher Reeves came out. Now you got a younger generation who doesn't understand or hasn't even been experienced to that type of movie. So this is really something that just needs to be pushed, and that's what I'm hoping for. That you got younger kids and stuff like that to say, hey, whenever you've seen a man fly, or when you've seen
Yeah.
seen him punch it, that sort of deal.
Yeah, I've been talking with my grandma a lot about the movie, and like she keeps reminding me, like, "Oh, this isn't how Superman really is." She was like, "Superman, he couldn't make him believe a man could fly and everything." Like she's like very into like the two Christopher Reeve movies. So I mean,
Yeah.
I
My
just
dad's-
walk out of the cinema and go, "Wow, what a good film!"
Yeah.
My dad will just fall asleep, so I can't take him.
I want to see the parents. Like, when I say the parents, I want to see Jonathan and Martha Kent. You got Kevin Costner and Diane Lane, two great actors portraying the parents. I want to see an establishment of the importance of the duality of he's this Kryptonian with all these powers, but he's so heavily influenced by the way he was raised by his Earth parents. I'm hoping we get to see some really good opportunities mixed into the film, however they do it, whether it's going to be in flashbacks or in like us actually getting to see some development of that in a linear fashion. I don't care how they do it. I just would really like to see that because I think that's something that's really important to establish. And I don't care which route they go. I just really want to see those actors have a chance to shine and make us believe they would influence this guy to the point if he does encounter his people, he has such a strong foundation that he's like a rock. He's unwavering.
See, I think they're gonna. Sorry, I think they're gonna do it in probably flashbacks, because even if you don't follow comics, you know Superman's origin. It's ingrained in popular culture. So to retell it again would be a waste of time and a waste of film if you're trying to get to the maximum opportunity audience to make the film successful. So I think it's going to be done in flashbacks so they can get the story going quicker.
yeah, I mean, honestly, if it were up to me, I don't think I would include the origin. I would just do the All-Star Superman, Doom Planet, Desperate Scientist, Kindly Couple, Only Hope. I mean, I would just leave it with the basics and just go straight on from him being Superman.
Jeremy, what about you?
Well, it seems like it's almost been this formula to where even with the Marvel movies, you have this origin. So, in a way, I get the whole origin story, but if they get through that quickly, I don't think it will diminish from the film. But if it's the whole movie is basically one big origin story, then I think you're going to turn a lot of people off because they want to get into more of that action. But I go, what's in the future, not in the past.
That's the problem that Amazing Spider-Man had.
Well, I think that the best origin story is still Batman Begins. I just think that's the perfect comic book story where you got Bruce Wayne out of the costume for basically more than half of the film, and it's just him establishing himself. Now I don't mind Superman punching and stuff, but I would like to see more of the travels that Clark made to say, hey, I know that Mom and Pa gave me maybe instilled this moral compass for me, but I just want to see him experience life, and so I'm looking forward to the fish boat, the shrimp boat. That's what I heard Jim say shrimp boat, but or the crab boat, and the oil rig and the other sort of experience that he had in the world.
Well, the one thing that they did say, the one thing we saw in the preview was him with the bus, where he was young and he saved that bus full of other kids. So I mean, we're gonna see stuff like that, and we've seen already scenes with Kevin Costner giving him advice. Batman Begins is a great example of where they did do things via like flashbacks. They would flash to modern day, then they would flash back, and I thought that was a great way to keep the action going, while at the same time giving us that establishment of why he believes the things that he does. And I'm not saying that it has to follow the Batman Begins format, but I think I think we're all kind of saying the same thing. We want a movie that cooks and grabs people and, keeps people all the way through. You don't want that part where people go, okay, enough exposition already. Get to some punching. I think there's ways to do all that while still establishing the background of this guy, because you're right. It's been well over 20 years since we've had, Superman on this. I mean, I don't know if Superman Returns even counts as and I'm not knocking. Whether you like the film or not.
It didn't happen.
Well,
you can knock it. You can knock it. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I guess the thing is with Superman Returns, I don't think that there's a whole lot of people right now that look at that film and say that is a definitive example of Superman's backstory. So you really have to go back to the Christopher Reeve's first movie as being the last time, that on film we've seen that origin done and done well. So I think there is room to explore it in this film in a way that fits modern filmmaking, the way, the expectation is of the viewing audience today, because it's got a nice runtime. So I think you can do a good origin story while keeping it cooking.
So
that's the advantage that Superman and Batman have over the Marvel films, though, in that you can just touch on their origins and people will know where you're going from and what you're doing. Whereas with the Marvel films, you have to lay it out piece by piece by piece what their origins are so you can understand the characters. So Batman Begins, perfect example. And it looks like they're going to go down that route with Superman as well.
Well, here's what Begins did that I liked, and this is where I think there's a distinction. I thought Begins took an origin that people have already seen established so many times, and they took it to a new level. Like, I thought there was so much more origin in Batman Begins than we've ever gotten before. The stuff that they were exploring with his training was stuff that we don't really get to see on film much. Like Superman's travels, I like the idea of them focusing on that, because we haven't seen that on film before. Yeah. So do something new with his origin that we as fans have never seen on the screen, so you get the new hook, while at the same time giving something for us older fans who've seen it all before many times.
It also makes you feel for the character much more, like, just seeing Bruce just grab his money and become this unstoppable. It works in the comics, but when you're watching the movie, you want to see him work for his motivations, and while ultimately he becomes the Bat, you get to the point where he meets Ra's al Ghul, and they want to accomplish the same goals, but they want the same end goal, but the way they go about doing it are completely different. And you can see why, after all this training, why he decided to become Batman instead of becoming the new demon.
What also worked with the Batman movie is we understood the fear aspect of why, not only just the training, but his psychological reasoning for what he did and how he was doing stuff. So I think that's with all that together.
Other than that, he'd be open window man from Dow H.
I'm enjoying watching this because every time I see Isaiah look over his shoulder, I keep thinking he's afraid he's going to be attacked by Soprano. Because I've got like this visual here, and every so often he keeps looking over his shoulder, and it's like Soprano's your enemy, right? Like there's really no act going on. The announcement was like you're being invaded in the library, right? You can tell us, Isaiah, is that what's really going on here?
Sopranos, Tony Soprano. You forgot to say the first name.
Oh no, run.
Yeah. I got my money on you, Isaiah. You've seen the films, you've been through the training, you got it.
Yeah.
Paul.
Yes.
What about you? Like, what are you hoping for with Man of Steel? And what is your background with the character of Superman?
I have pretty much every Superman book published for the last 26 years.
Nice. So you're going into this as the longtime Superman fan. So what do you hope for as somebody who's been there, done that, seen so much of it, been immersed in it? What do you hope this film brings to the table?
I hope that it's one that catches on with the public, because it's been too long.
Do you feel like the character... See, I think when you tell people in general about the character, I feel like Wesley, you mentioned Iron Man before. I think Iron Man is much more of a household name right now. I think people know of they know the name Superman. I don't think they know though Superman the way we as comic readers may know the character. I don't feel like the general public recognizes the character. Do you guys agree or disagree?
Yeah, Superman is Mickey Mouse right now, where people know of Superman just like they know of Mickey Mouse, but both haven't really been relevant for such a while that the merchandise sales, but not the actual character.
That relevance.
Like I said, my neighborhood, we just, like I said, we're playing basketball, and I just said, we talked about a lot of things, movies and stuff like that, and they said flat out, man, Superman, who's that? And so we just, I had a shell shock look on my face at first, but then, they could, name every scene in the Avengers and, Iron Man and stuff like that. And they went to the midnight premiere of Iron Man 3, and so it's really something where it's not that it hasn't been pushed. Superman hasn't been pushed. It's just that, with, each generation and generation, I think people are more sort of inclined to think of, Batman as, the number one guy, just because I don't know if he's more relatable, but it's just because, it's just his story, I guess.
For too long, Superman has just been a figurehead for DC, and Batman's been the moneymaker. Superman has been very poorly dealt with the last few years before the New 52. It seemed like they were running out of ideas, and I don't think that the court case helped much because they didn't know what they could or could not do. So they were stuck in limbo with this amazing character. They don't know what they owned, what they didn't own, what they could go forward with. That's cleared up. The new film's coming out, and I think Superman is, like I said before at the beginning, he's going to reclaim his place as the premier hero.
Jeremy, what about you?
Well, I think that since there's been a decent while to where there hasn't been a Superman movie, that will actually help it. Unlike where Spider-Man, where you have a new movie coming out every 2 years, it's rebooting. The storyline, the origin story with Superman, it's been a while, so I think having that fresh start with a new generation, this is may be their first time seeing a movie, it can really grab them, hopefully.
Is there a character in DC right now that you would like to see get this treatment? Because to me, one of the things I've loved about this, I think the trailers have been so well placed. I mean, we already know that they're green-lighting a sequel now based on the anticipation of sales. That means it's not the average comic fan that they're thinking of. They know they've got the general public hooked into this film. So is there another character that DC's currently publishing that you think can, we've got Batman, he's already been in this role. Looks like Superman's going to be a success unless they really messed up this film somehow, but it just doesn't look like that's going to be the case. I'm really thinking this one would be hard for this one not to be a home run now. Who do you think is next at DC?
Well, I'm just surprised again that we've got so many years and we still can't figure out the Wonder Woman, which is just
I was just going to say
Wonder Woman.
How could we not be an Amazon, and if we have to if we got to take away the island, or if we have to take away something to the fact where I like the new 52 origin for her, which is she's a offspring of Ares, and so I like the Greek gods part of it, and so let's keep it sort of like a Clash of the Titans sort of origin. I don't know. It's just it's for some reason, and I'm not I like what Joss Whedon said. It's it's too far gone that we haven't had an actual female superhero protagonist, and so it's like I said, it's really weird to think about it.
Well, with a Wonder Woman movie, I think what really hurts is you have these discussions about whether Wonder Woman should be wearing a skirt or wearing pants. That what hurts. You have these discussions like that where you can't actually get to the core of it and actually make a good movie.
I never wear armor. When I say armor, let me clarify that. I'm talking about the new Frontier style Wonder Woman. If you take a look at that comic series, the Wonder Woman that's in that, if you look at video games like God of War, I'll use that as an example. Very successful video gaming franchise. People are very into that style. You bring in the gods aspect of it. Everything that we look at as the core of her background, you can bring that in and make it work. In New Frontier, she came in as the Amazon warrior, wearing like the suit of armor, still traditional, still very Wonder Woman, but also it separates her from like other characters, and you don't lose anything that fans have come to expect from her. I'm not saying that I would love if it's more traditional costume-wise too, but I think you can do something like that, and it wouldn't be so odd for comic fans. It wouldn't be so, but I think it would hook in a general public.
Yeah, I love Wonder Woman, and I think, like I was telling Jeremy at the last Hangout, I think she's better off getting an Arrow treatment instead of a film. I think Brian Azzarello's current run will be perfectly adapted into a television series. I mean, on the CW, you got your romance part with Orion, you got the political intrigue with all the gods, and then even for her costume, which issue was it where she was going to hell to go get Zola back, and she had like the battle skirt on with like arrows, guns and stuff? That would be the perfect type of costume for her.
See, I'm amazed that they've not been able to come up with a successful formula, because if you cut it down to its basics, which all the producers want, is for the fanboys, you've got this amazingly attractive, tall powerhouse that goes around fighting monsters, and then for all the girls out there, you've got the archetypal role model of she's a woman, but she can kick ass with the best of them. How can that not be a win? I mean, what are they doing?
I mean, we had Tomb Raider, just for, good long while making, millions of dollars. I just couldn't understand it.
Me.
There was that Amazon TV series that they were announcing for the CW as a potential pilot. I know that's on hold, but like
I read that they're kind of looking into that again and maybe redoing it.
Yeah, they're going to retool it, because if I recall correctly, the original pilot was they were going to take away her powers, and it was basically going to be Nikita just with Wonder Woman. Nikita in the Arrow universe with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and see, to me, that defeats the whole purpose. And I think with Smallville, they've already established that not having powers or having powers does not make a show more or less accessible.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I expect Arrow to start having powers this second season, because I'm not sure, but I'm expecting that at Comic-Con they're going to announce that Man of Steel and Arrow are in the same universe.
Well, if they were going to do a TV show where they took away Wonder Woman's powers, they might as well have just given Huntress a TV show, because that's basically what it would have been.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that Arrow being in the same universe. I guess that hasn't been like a thing that I need to have happen, but I would say for a Justice League film, if you're going to do that, you've got a successful TV series in Arrow, which means you've got your Green Arrow for the Justice League right there, and he's already a character that people like.
Yeah. Well,
I would love to see him go into and be a part of a Justice League film without them ruining that series, because I think that series has got its own vibe, and I think you can do that. And I don't know if they would consider that, but that.
Why is going to be an Arrow? Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my main thing, the way to do it is do it kind of similar to how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to do it. Just say that Arrow, but like Man of Steel takes place between Arrow Season 1 and Arrow Season 2. You kind of reference the events in Arrow Season 2, but at the same time, you just kind of like, the world changed, and now a few episodes out of the season, you got people with special, I guess, powers or abilities. But beyond that, keep the tone of the show the same.
Do you have? Let me ask you this: can they be set in the same universe? Because if you look at everything that's going on in Arrow, and is there anyone here who hasn't watched Arrow?
No, I gave it a couple of episodes. I got to Netflix it and just try to catch up to it, because I'm Netflixing everything, Game of Thrones, everything. So I'm just trying to catch up to everything.
I haven't watched season 3 yet.
I haven't watched Game of Thrones at all yet.
You're missing out. That's heresy. That's heresy right now.
Get off.
Except you know what?
Book series before I read the show.
Watch
the show.
I would argue that it's a great way to watch Game of Thrones is to be able to like sit down and just really like delve through like 3 seasons of it and just enjoy that ride. Once you start watching though, dude, you won't put that down.
That's what I do. I bought the first season on DVD, Put the first disc on at about 6 p.m. Thought to myself, I'll watch a couple of episodes. Watched all 10 in one hit.
Oh, that had to be amazing.
It was work the following day wasn't, but it was an experience.
Like, you had to have been tired afterward just because there's so much going on in that show. Like, that's almost like homework.
It is very hard going, but then again, nothing good or worthwhile in life is easy, so.
Jumping back to Arrow again real quick, though, and I guess if they say it was set in the universe, I don't know that you need to acknowledge Man of Steel in Arrow, other than it'd be kind of cool, maybe like the way that they do like winks and nods to different streets and creators and stuff, because I think there's so much going on in Starling City that with what's going on in the Arrow team, and this won't spoil anything for those of you that haven't seen the whole season or anything like that. Isaiah, you're under attack. Sopranos coming. Bob and weave. This may be like the worst like villain introduction ever, because like normally you want the villain to be like. Yeah, because, like, you don't even have a cliffhanger with the villain, like, revealing themselves. Like, they keep telling you partway through the issue that Soprano's coming.
Theatrics.
Yeah. Although...
20 minutes, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I'm here, I'm coming.
You can only imagine in a comic having an announcer saying, and now here comes Soprano. He walks off.
Except this would be the real kicker. At the end, we'll get to this cliffhanger where Isaiah goes, oh my God! And then we don't see anything.
It's like, to be continued.
Yeah. Like, all that, and we never got to see
Fade
Soprano.
to black. It's like...
Yeah, that's it. No more Soprano. And did he survive? What happened? All that type of thing. We'll have to tune in next time.
So as far as other characters, I'd like to see translated in the film. I would really like to see a Flash film and just put more comedy based, like keep it lighthearted, like basically Flash and the Rogues doing Ocean's 11.
Ooh.
I would love to see a Suicide Squad film. I just think that would be, just the ultimate, just villains that are, that have to do the government's work. Oh my goodness, I'd love to see that.
Well,
That'd be really new.
Well, the Suicide Squad is basically the Dirty Dozen in garish uniform. For those of you old enough to remember the Dirty Dozen.
Oh yeah, I love the Dirty Dozen.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, that's great. What about that Supermax movie that used to be rumored a lot, where it was basically Green Arrow is framed and put into a Supermaximum prison full enough of a supervillain, and now he has to team up with a few to try to escape.
I'd love to see something like that. I think there's a lot of opportunities to do something. It goes back to the Shield. You guys mentioned Shield earlier. That was a show that I never in a million years thought would ever see fruition. That's coming now. And I always thought it would be a great TV show. So, I mean, stuff like that we as fans have always said, and we kind of, jokingly would say it to each other, wouldn't that be a cool show? Like, I think those things now, especially if shows like S.H.I.E.L.D. are successful, might see the light of day. We're going to get some people going, wow, let's try some of these creative franchises that we previously thought would not work.
Ambush Bug.
I can only imagine, like, on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. where you have S.H.I.E.L.D. on one channel and Argus on another going at it.
Yeah.
Steve Trevor or Phil Coulson.
No, I don't know why they would put it on Tuesday right there at the NCIS slot. That's just, I don't understand. They could have put that in a better slot to, at least promote the film.
NCIS DCU.
I'm surprised that Tana hasn't gotten her own show yet. I mean, the whole, like, with magic and vampires and stuff being all popular, I mean...
She'd be like a great Buffy.
If I was going to do like a cop show in the DC universe, wouldn't it be CSI GCPD?
Yeah, it's that,
because that would be the most believable, because they've always got some weird way of killing someone off in that city.
Wasn't Gotham Central for the longest time rumored to be like in some form of like development trap?
Yeah, it was, but Batman Begins kind of put it on hold because of the bad embargo that DC was doing at the time.
Did you see that there's a Harry Potter film in development? I'm not Harry Potter, I'm sorry, a Fables film in development by the people who made Harry Potter.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. Biggie, that's if there's a comic that I'm faithfully reading, that's I love me some Big B Wolf, some Geppetto, Rose Red, all of them. I just I think that an adult fairy tale, it just it's up my wheelhouse. I love it. I can't get enough of it.
You
Even
guys,
fairies.
you guys looking forward to the game that's coming out this year?
Oh yeah, the Telltale game?
Yeah.
After what they did with the Walking Dead game, like, I am excited for anything they do, because that Walking Dead game was amazing.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite game of that was probably my game of the year last year. It was the one game that it hit me, like, from a storytelling perspective, it really hit you hard. Like, you got to meet the characters, and when characters would die, it's like,
You felt responsible for those characters.
yeah, I really did. And then just some of the jokes, like the kind of dark humor, and then just some of the stuff that really, has anybody here haven't played the game yet?
Oh no, not yet.
No.
This is where my geek credentials take a hit. I've never read a single issue of Walking Dead or seen the show.
I've only read the first trade and seen the show, and the game is probably my biggest experience with the series. But there's this, I think Sean would know what I'm talking about. I think on the second episode when you go to the farm, the surprise that, like, towards the end that happens to one of the characters, that really surprised me. I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Actually, this is kind of a good segue into something else I want to talk about afterwards. But one of the things that I really liked about the game, and this won't spoil anything for anybody, you get to know the characters along the way. And he's mentioned you go on journeys with them. And as you go on journeys, you get to know their backstory. And you get to control the discussion between the characters. So the questions you're asking, the way that they feel about you, every question you ask, every answer to their comments that you make, every action you take influences the way people around you view you and how, they ultimately end up turning out. Your actions will influence whether or not certain characters live and die. There's pivotal points where you have to decide between major characters who's going to still be with you. And then you have to deal with the repercussions of those choices later on in the episodes, because it was a 5-episode game, which to me, it brought to life the interactivity of a comic book. And I guess where I'm leading this, and it kind of, we can still continue the same discussion in this. DC announced that new way of publishing like a digital comic with the Batman 66 series and that Arkham Origins comic, where these comics are now going to have like a choose your own adventure style, where it's not taking the place of our current comics. It's just they're experimenting with some digital avenues to try a different kind of comic. Have you guys heard about this? It's that what DC Squared. Do I have that? I think the name right?
I'm looking forward to it. My only question is, how would the print version of the Arkham Origins work? Because if I understand it correctly, the Arkham Origins is basically a choose your own adventure type book. So how would that work as far as continuity? Because it has to lead into the game, which has a set story, and as well, how would the print version of that work?
Well, have they announced a print version of that?
No, but you pretty much it might be a given, depending on it's the type of medium that you're getting, since it's a lead into a video game. And same way with I think Superman. I don't know if it was Superman. It was another on a digital first that they were working with. Besides 66 and and Arkham Origins. I just the medium. You pretty much figure it's saying it'd be a print version.
Wait, did we just see Isaiah get taken by Soprano?
Oh, there he's back.
Okay.
Yeah. Had to put my phone on the charger.
And Sean, I just want to know on the backdrop. Now, you in an earlier podcast, you talked about Injustice. Have you actually picked up a console so that you can buy it, so that you can play the game?
I have not yet. and it's actually, now that I'm on my summer break, I took a new job at work. So because of that, I have to clear out my classroom, which I haven't had to do in 15 years, like fully clear out a classroom. So I've been like focused on that. I'm still in the same district and everything, but like the amount of work I've got to do with that, when I finally hit my summer break, there's no way I can't, because too many of my friends are playing it now.
Yeah,
that
Injustice.
like, and I've like, it's one game I haven't heard anybody say anything negative about.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite fighting game this generation, and the story is just so well done. It's like, and it probably has my favorite Superman moment of all time, in like throughout the story. And I mean, it's like they're going to be playing. It got into Evo this year, so it's going to be like getting a lot of big tournament news from like the professional fighting game players. Like, and it's been really well received, because I mean, you're taking the play style of Mortal Kombat and you put it into a more, I guess, family friendly image.
Well, they tried that with the. Go ahead, Mark.
So the biggest thing it had going for it was it actually did have a proper story to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As opposed to just a bunch of people fighting. And the fact that you didn't have one person throughout the entire game.
Yeah, it's what I liked about the. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was going to say it's what I liked about the last Mortal Kombat game as well. I mean, you got stuff like Marvel vs. Capcom. I really like that series, but the story mode was so half-assed that they did, where it's just basically a intro and then kind of cinematics at the end. They really didn't take no whole point in the sand that this is why Hulk is fighting Chris Redfield from Resident Evil, or why Mega Man and Iron Man will team up or anything. Whereas, but Injustice, they just...
Who are you to be anonymous?
What was that?
I think Sean's got kidnapped by Daleks.
Exterminate.
But I like those mash 'em ups where, you know, I don't really care, you know.
Yeah.
I already know you're in two different universes, so it's not like I'm going to see you in the comic anytime soon. So let's, you know, put you in there, see who's going to duke it out. It's the old playground, you know. Well, this character is better than this character, and that's why I love. I still love Marvel vs. Capcom too. I just think that's, you know, just one of my all-time favorites growing up as a kid. You know, even with my now cobwebbed up Dreamcast.
I think though I get kind of what Isaiah's saying there. I think I'm totally with you. I think the gameplay of Marvel vs. Capcom is stellar. It's just such a great game. But I think if they retool the story mode and add this amazing story to it, you're only going to add to an already stellar experience. So I think nowadays there's ways to do that where you can, like, I mean, because we see how many cool crossover comics have there been where you've taken two universes and done, sometimes that gets messed up too, where they like kind of rush that and just do it for the flash and flare. But when they do it right, it really feels very satisfying at the end. I think you can take a game like Marvel vs. Capcom, which already has fans clamoring for it for its great gameplay, add an amazing story into it, and you're now going to take it to a new level. And I think everything I've heard about Injustice has been the game plays great, the story's amazing. The comic leading up to it has been, I've read the comic. That has been, the digital comic has been fantastic. Like, even if I don't have the game right now, the comic was well worth reading in and of itself. So I'd love to see, like, for me, I love the Street Fighter characters. I love the Capcom Universe characters. I would love to see a great comic leading into a Marvel vs. Capcom game. Because I love the animes for the Street Fighter movies that they've done. They've done some really, really great animes with that. It would be cool to see that kind of storytelling brought into that already great game. It would just add to the experience. Nothing is diminished now, but to me, I like the marriage of gameplay and storytelling. I think that's how you hook gamers into comics.
The special moves on Injustice are mental.
Yeah. Well, do you think the reason that the story in Injustice is so good is because they already had this comic book lead-in already planned out, so it was a nice segue into it?
Yeah, that helped a lot as far as terms of story goes. Like, you can enjoy the story without reading the comic book, and a lot of stuff will still be kind of surprising. But if you read this story of why it goes, it's a bigger impact as to why the world is like it is.
I think that Batman... I think
I've heard sort of a mixed, reaction where, they love the story, but they don't like the characterization. Like, again, Wonder Woman. They love the story. They love the story, but they hate, the fact that, she's basically, she's, take charge. She's willing to kill. She's willing to do all these kinds of stuff.
Oh man.
Here we go. Scared to death now. But yeah, she's just willing. She's willing to take. She's willing to kill, and sort of influencing Superman now to be, to be more take charge, and it's. I just lost it after that Wizard of Oz. My train of thought after that, I thought that was me for a second there. I'm scared to death.
No, it was the evil soprano.
The epic intro music.
Yeah. I feel like he's going to be danced on or something after that. It's like, Soprano's going to frolic your way in a minute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like they're in a room like that's like right next to me too. So
I can just see the YouTube.
Just go in there, knock on the door and say, "Excuse me, I'm trying to talk. Keep it down."
I'll be here.
I'm podcasting in a library. Please leave me alone.
Yeah, I think Mark was a bit quiet.
I can just see the YouTube hits now. Just all the millions of YouTube hits we're just gonna get from this.
Finally. Soprano.
I think that's what this talk is officially called now. It's just Soprano.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's right.
No reference, no anything, just Soprano. And
No, I would call it the Soprano Diaries. Because you never really see Soprano, it's just the reactions to Soprano.
yeah.
A villain too fierce to actually be viewed by others.
Don't talk about the Soprano. You don't
That's
talk
right.
the Soprano.
That's right, rule one. Yep. Nobody talks about it.
You don't know where he is, but he's
man.
watching you.
That's right.
So
You
what do
just see
guys think of
random
the,
shadows or something.
What do you guys think of the Arkham Origins game that's about to come out? They showed the new trailer. I think it was either yesterday or today.
See, I think that influenced the story mode of Injustice. I think that Batman series being so successful for DC, and I think that influenced the whole thing myself.
I love the soundtrack we have now.
It's
amazing.
It lends an air of class to it,
Impending
doesn't
Doom.
it?
It adds class where there shouldn't be any.
Raging Bullets After Dark.
That's right. And wait, the funny...
Sean, I guess for Villains Month, I guess the Sopranos music could be there for the podcast now. You just see, instead of the regular intro music, you just start playing Soprano songs.
Well, the Soprano one-shot could just be like blank pages, like, because nobody's actually seen Soprano.
Just music.
Yeah.
Or the origin story to The Sopranos is this villain turns up and murders 6 people.
What is it? It's Soprano. It's not the villain you want. It's the villain you deserve.
But yeah, as far as the Arkham, they're just stealing my money because I've already invested in both Arkham City and Arkham Asylum. So they're just stealing my money, and I don't mind it being, instead of they're using the same engine, but it's now the studio is now more of Warner Brothers instead of it being sort of outsourced.
Well, they own Rocksteady now. I'll tell you why I like that. I'm hoping Rocksteady's working on something cool that's new, like a new franchise, because they already did it with the Batman one. So you don't need.
I think Rocksteady's working on a new Batman game because Kevin Conroy had tweeted that he was doing a voice for Batman, but he's not in Arkham Origins. So a lot of people are suspecting that they're making one last Arkham game for like the next gen systems.
Oh, cool.
Well, it's the one that's coming out going to be on next gen or no?
I hope it is because I want to do the live streaming, but
It'll have to be next gen because the new consoles are out Christmas
November.
this year, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
November 21st or somewhere around that.
yeah. So the next one, so the next game won't be out till next year probably. So it'll be next gen.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna get a PS4. I'm an Xbox guy, but they kind of screwed the pooch with all that DRM and always online.
Yeah, I saw that at the E3. Sony just
Yeah.
battered the hell out of Microsoft,
Well,
didn't they?
Microsoft had the better overall game lineup. Like they show like Killer Instinct, and they show like way more diverse lineup of games. But Sony is $100 cheaper, and also has I can use the games whenever I want. So they win most. Oh, go ahead.
Well, just you said $100 cheaper. That like whenever the PS3 came out, it was $600, which that was 7 years ago, and that was amazingly expensive. But now with a new generation, with the PS4, it just seems from yesterday that the PS4 is just a PS3 with better graphics. You can just almost put a sticker on the PS3.
And I want to get a Wii U for that Scribblenauts DC game coming out.
Yeah.
Now, do you think with the announcement now, it's funny you mentioned Wii U, do you think with the announcement of the Xbox and the price points now, we're dealing with what, $499 entry level point for Xbox One, $399 for PS4. Like, do you think Nintendo, who's already been having trouble getting an install base with the Wii U, do you think this is going to affect that, or can Nintendo on their franchises alone come back from that?
I think Nintendo are going to go the way of Sega. I think
Please, no.
consoles and just
never had
games.
Well, that's the thing that hurts
the Wii U's tanking hugely.
Yeah. There's no games for it. That's what hurts it. There's no games whatsoever. It's all
that's the problem.
Mario and Zelda.
There is no third-party support, but at the end of the day, I'll buy a Wii U just for the first-party content. And it's going to be like I was this generation that's wrapping up. I rock the Xbox 360, and a Wii is my second console. I plan to do that again. I'll have a PS4 for my main console, and then when I want to play Zelda or whatever game, I'll get a Wii U.
Yeah, but they could make Zelda cross-platform, get rid of the Nintendo platform, and make money that way.
Well, if you can if you have Final Fantasy for both PS4 and Xbox, you can start doing Mario maybe and Zelda. Because I would love a Zelda on other consoles.
Yeah. Finally, Final Fantasy 15 is coming out versus 13.
That looks so good. That trailer.
Yeah.
Well, the most impressive thing I heard was the Elder Scrolls MMOs coming to console.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming. I'm not going to even play it though. I'm going to play that Final Fantasy MMO. I'm not sure.
Now this is a terrible segue, but just we're talking about prices and stuff. Now I've seen the summer's here, so the price of the comics are hiking back up, and I'm looking at $3.99, Justice League $3.99, and I want to get into these things, but now it's hurting my budget as far as being a Wednesday warrior coming in and what my selection. Now I'm cutting into my selection again. Is instead of those 10 books I might get, I might be cutting into 7 now. So it's just what books are you seeing a difference in sort of the economic climate now for you guys?
As an all digital with the going with the 1 month thing, instead of going $1.99 a month, they're going it's waiting 2 months. For my purchasing habits, that's really hurt me because I buy.
Soprano struck again.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what Soprano does. Soprano goes. Did you guys see Airplane? Remember Johnny when he would pull out the plug? Anybody watch that movie other than me?
Yeah,
when Johnny pulls out the plug,
awesome.
I'm wondering if that's Sopranos, sitting there, and you see him rubbing his hands together. Just kidding. And then he goes back to singing.
Can I just go back to something that was just said then? When you said summer is here, for you, maybe. I'm in England. My summer was last Tuesday. That was it. So you're not getting any sympathy from me as far as that's concerned.
Well, with the price bump, is it just September for Villains Month where the price is going to be a little bit higher than the month after that? It's going to go back to regular?
Well, it's been hiking up since just $3.99 now. So now we're looking at a $4.99 Forever Evil, and I'm just it hurts the budget, but like I said.
That's gonna be $4.99.
Well, I don't know. I thought it was $4.99. Like I said, I might have to check again. I'm hoping it's $3.99. If anything, framed is $2.99.
If it's $4.99, I don't think anybody will buy it. Really?
It is. It's $4.99 for the combo pack edition, which it's $3.99. Forever Evil issue number 1 is $3.99. You're right. There is a $4.99 price point, but that's the one if you get the digital as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you can buy a $3.99 version of it.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess when we talk about price points, where it affects me, and I don't know if it does the same thing for you guys. I like to try new comics, not just DC. I like to try stuff that people are talking about that's going on around comics. Somebody will do a recommendation of something from Image or an indie that they're reading, something from Boom, wherever. I love myself. Besides DC, I'm a gigantic Valiant fan. I've been picking up every one of their books that they've been putting out. Where it affects me is, and Soprano apparently too, because Soprano's just singing along with me on this one. But yeah, exactly.
It's the tale of woe with music to go with it.
Where it affects me is it's that other book that I might want to try that I'm like, I just can't. At this point, I'm at my absolute limit on what I can read. That $3.99 is a killer price point, and Soprano agrees with me.
Well, I think that's what hurt. The price is what really hurt Sword Sorcery. I love that comic, but it was $3.99. I think that turned a lot of people off.
Yeah, Threshold got hurt by it as well, but I think as far as other non-DC books go, I've been going to more like Monkey Brain digital exclusive books. Like I've really been liking Mobs and Masks, and then with Boom, the only book I've really been reading has been what's that, Suburbia?
Yeah, which is terrific.
Yeah, that's probably yeah, it is. Desperate Housewives of Superheroes. I'm honest, that should be a TV show by now.
Well, there's already a TV show called Suburbia, so they might have to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys this. We're talking about price points here. When you're looking at trying a new book, and let's be realistic on today's climate and market, like, I mean, it's real easy for us all to say that 99 cents would be the great starting price point. But being realistic on today's costs, what is, like, a price point that turns you off? Like, where does it start to make you go, I don't know? And what do you think is, for today's market, the ideal price point with the realism of costs?
Well, like I was fine with $2.99, and I'm still, sort of shaky on $3.99. But like I said, as far as Comixology and sort of really going the digital route, that's what I'm sort of looking forward, putting my ear to, because I have an iPad, and I just for some reason I just don't use I don't use it. Because, like I said, I just like having that physical, copy in my hand. But it's, now it's, sort of, catching my eyes, hey, if I can, skim a few bucks and still be able to, buy milk them all, then, maybe, that's something I should look into.
That pesky eating. Go ahead, Mark.
It all depends on. I don't actually know what the cost breakdown of making and producing comics is. Mm-hmm. So it could be that $3.99 it could be extremely expensive if the comic costs 20 cents to make. But if the comic itself is a couple of, $1.50 or something, they need to make money somewhere. So without knowing exactly how much it is, but then again, it all comes down to, if I'm going to spend $3.99 on a comic, I want it to be of decent quality.
Yeah.
I don't, and I would be more than happy to spend $2.99 on a comic with loads and loads and loads of ads if it meant that the comic was cheaper. But if I spend $3.99 on a comic and half the comic is ads, then I think I'm being ripped off somewhere. So it all depends on how it's packaged and what you're getting for it.
Would knowing the cost breakdown of development of the comic make it an easier pill to swallow?
I think it would, because people would actually be able to understand what actually goes on into it. Because I think a lot of people think just to print out a comic would be 10 cents. Like, to really burn a CD with a video game, that's I don't think that's very expensive. But if you have that breakdown, I think people will be much more willing to actually maybe go, okay, I can understand why this is this price.
I'm more fascinated that Jeremy just got applause.
Thank you.
Well, I just like I said, I've heard interviews where you got indies who are just doing straight digital, and they're getting they're getting their product out there, and it's if it's the digital market that's making it cheaper for me, then then like I said, I can understand maybe the two something on the digital market. I just like I said, if it's cheaper for me and it's cheaper for them doing it digitally, then I could I could understand if they're cutting costs but still giving me the same sort of quality than if it was printed.
I think digital.
So the thing with indie companies, they don't have anyone they have to answer to when it comes to producing their goods and how much money. Indie companies will probably be happy with breaking even as long as they don't lose out. When you have companies like DC or Marvel, they have to make a profit or they get cut.
I think Image has to make a profit, which is why The Walking Dead and Invincible have gone so long. But I mean, as far as digital has really changed the landscape of how we look at this stuff. I mean, you look at something like you got your regular $3.99 or $2.99 books that sell a lot per month, but then you got something like Injustice or Smallville coming at 99 cents and has just dominated the sales charts for Comixology. So
yeah, but maybe if they're selling Justice League for $3.99 and it's selling 100,000 copies a month, maybe that's allowing for a lesser well-known comic that's not doing so well. I mean, like Darl H, for instance, was never the biggest seller, was never going to appeal to a mass market, but maybe Batman and Superman and Justice League selling gangbusters allowed Darl H to go on and let China finish his story.
See, I don't mind certain comics like Justice League being $3.99. Where across the board everything is basically $3.99. Like, I really want to read a lot of Marvel books, but right now I only read Hawkeye and Captain Marvel just because I like those characters and because they're not $3.99. For like the Ultimate Marvel stuff, all those books being $3.99 shouldn't make sense. And then Marvel doesn't even do the 1 month or 2 month go down $1. You have to wait the first arc of Ultimate Comics Spider-Man didn't go down $1 until like 7 months after the arc was finished.
Mm-hmm. See, I wish there was a way, and this would help retailers, I think, with some of their carryover. I wish after a month, retailers were able to do the same thing with paper comics, where they could, after 30 days, you could make the comics $1 cheaper. And, I'd like to see that be a standard, not just for digital. I'd like to see that be a standard for paper comics as well. I think it would help retailers. Where after 30 days you could get a second round of traffic, maybe a more of a casual fan kind of walking in. I know I would, after 30 days pop into a comic shop and, look at that secondary rack that they have. They could have a second shelf system set up where this could be the books that have just passed that 30-day mark. I know it would lead me when I go to leave a comic shop to walk out with an extra couple books from that stack of things I might want to try.
Yeah, I mean, as far as digital go, the only thing I really want to see is, how Comixology does the website promotion.
Wait a minute, Isaiah, I see Soprano. Watch out, Isaiah. Isaiah over his shoulder, there's some girl back there, and I'm telling you, she looked like she was like bobbing and weaving and looking down. She was like, how
you doing?
She looked innocent enough, but like she's out to get you, man. And notice the singing stopped. The singing stopped when she was in the back there. So tell her, if she tries to tell you she's not soprano, she's lying.
I mean, like, as far as digital goes, how Comixology does the digital promotion portal where if you buy from a website, you can send a part of that money.
See, now you just jinxed him.
Well, notice we don't see Soprano when he's having issues.
wait, I'm having issues?
Yeah, we got to, that you said portal, and that was it.
All right. The Comicsology portal you guys are always promoting when
Yeah.
you buy money and you go to DCBS. I really wish you could access that through the actual app itself. Like I buy most of my comics through the actual Comicsology app on my phone or my tablet, and I would rather like it if some of that money would go to my local comic book shop instead of going straight to Comicsology.
I wish you could set up an account through your local comic book shop that you would know every time you log in, wherever you log in, you're doing it through your local comic shop portal. I agree with you. Because, we promote DCB Service because they've been so good to us over the years and to a lot of other podcasts. But I agree with you. For anybody who has a loyalty to a comic book service, a comic shop, whatever, to be able to set up that account with that retailer, to be able to maintain that relationship and support to that retailer every time they log into an app, I think that's something that we all would like as fans. And that would actually, for me and Soprano, increase digital purchases.
Higher.
It's like one of those movies where the hero has the idea and the soundtrack is just building up and up and up to the great encore.
I can't tell if the music gets louder when I get more profound or when I get stupider. So I don't know which it is.
I think you were given a Nobel Peace Prize type of speech, and you just we weren't trying to. Soprano just weren't trying to hear it.
Well, either that, it was kind of like an Academy Awards kind of thing. They're playing me off.
Get this guy off the stage.
Guys, do you have anything else you want to say about E3? I know there was a lot of news that was coming out. There was anything that stood out for you? I know we finally got the price point of the new consoles, but I remember when Jeremy was suggesting this, one of the things he suggested was talking about E3, and thank you.
Really three.
Yeah, I don't know if that was for you or for me, Jeremy, on that one. But one of the things that I really liked about E3, we all wanted to know what this next generation of consoles was going to cost, what games they had. Do you feel like you've got a grasp of what's the difference between the PS4 and the Xbox One from E3? Because I still feel that's a gray area for me.
Yeah. I think this is the first E3 where G4 hasn't been there to look beyond the floor, look at different games, look at the console. So we're really just playing stuff by ear. I think that goes with that gray area, with not knowing about the two systems.
I think that it's got to a stage with the Xbox and the PlayStation and the Wii U that it's getting to a point of brand loyalty now, and that you've got so much time and energy in your achievements and your trophies in your system, you're basically just stuck to the one system now. So the difference is going to be which one you're more attached to.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically how so.
I thought what Mark said was great too. So the applause is welcome.
And innovation.
Well, being an IT guy, I actually look at the specs and stuff of that sort, and it's they're both using the same almost sort of chip, the dual core, the dual cores. But like I said, it depends on like you see the slant for the PS4, which again, I get applause too. That's just but
people like the slant. It's like
it's just you see the slant, and it was all concerns about well, what's venting going to be like, and that sort of deal, and just is it the design for the slant, meaning that you get more air coming out, and just it makes it for a smoother experience, so that you're not turning it in every 2 or 3 years, that sort of deal. It's just it's those minor things that a tech guy like me actually looks for, as far as what I want to buy in that sort of deal.
I also, one of the things that I didn't think that we saw, like I got to see a lot of the things that I like. Like, there was a lot of, I think Sony coming out fighting with how their system's different. But I also thought the Xbox One did a great job of kind of establishing like what franchises are coming that we're all interested in seeing. So I thought both companies did a good job on that end of establishing pros. Thank you. But but one of the things that I was missing from this E3, and I haven't seen it yet, and maybe we'll get more news like this, new experiences. Like, I thought last generation, when they introduced the new consoles, there was a lot more emphasis on what was going to be new about the next generation. I didn't feel we got a lot of that at all, like new experiences.
Yeah, the main thing I really saw being new was the whole live streaming. Like they were showing live. That is such a big feature. Like I know a lot of, like just take a lot of guys on Raging Bullets. I know a lot of guys on Raging Bullets probably don't play video games, but they didn't be interested in watching them or like watching the story part. So for me to just turn on my Xbox or PlayStation 3, pop in Batman Arkham Origins, and just say, here's a link, you can watch my gameplay, it's such a big deal.
Yeah. Watching the Xbox One or Microsoft press conference, whenever they did the Twitch TV thing, all it was is like, okay, now we're going here. There's no, you don't have to sign in, or I assume you already be signed in, I think. But I mean, it was just that streamline where it won't take a half an hour to set up. Yeah. You can just go right into it and start streaming.
And I think the social aspect of gaming, I think, was something that really took off in this past generation. And I think you want to make that experience, like you said, Isaiah's got a great point. You want to bring in people who maybe normally wouldn't be connected with that experience. And I think that's a brilliant move on both companies' parts to dive into that. Because that's how you're going to get somebody who maybe wasn't a gamer previously going, oh, this is cool. I kind of want to be. I kind of want to be in the driver's seat of that.
Yeah, like, but you're also getting. Oh, go ahead, Isaiah.
Oh, I was going to say, just like you were saying, you want to get people who really aren't really good with that experience. It's like my mom, she really the only game she really to watch when you played The Walking Dead, like the months it was coming out, and we just watched it like it was a TV show. And I just let her choose. I did the gameplay stuff, and I just let her choose the dialogue and stuff, and she really enjoyed it.
Now, like I said, but you get that sort of flack that, well, it's a video game, it's a video game console. Why aren't you, focused on, actual, gamers and that sort of deal? And that's, that's the sort of flack that, Xbox One is getting right now. That, hey,
Well, I think what Nintendo, I think what Nintendo showed, at least with the original Wii, was that there was a big market with casual gamers. And with yesterday we saw Xbox show a lot of games, but also trying to tap into that big casual market that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, but Xbox, people say that Xbox isn't for the gamers, but if you go back and watch the Xbox show and the PlayStation show, Xbox showed way more games as far as exclusives and content that was coming this year, and that's kind of the thing I mainly enjoyed. Like, I saw Quantum Break, I saw Crimson Dragon, you saw Rise, you saw the new Halo coming out.
That was masterful, right there.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting that. Yeah, like coming at the end of 4 and Spartanauts, I really wasn't expecting that. So I'm really interested in seeing the story for that. And then they're just trying to tap into stuff that people really wouldn't see. Like they have a Halo TV series coming out for next year. I mean, they're looking at it less as a gaming console and more as the entertainment hub. It's the one-stop shop you go for everything.
I think one of the things that
consoles do now, aren't they? They're going away from being pure gaming machines into being more social networking machines.
And you'd be surprised at how many gamers hate that. Like if you go on NeoGAF or any they hate the Xbox for passion right now. It's just like I understand where
people will hate just for the sake of hating. People that don't get out on a Saturday afternoon and see their mates. They're stuck behind playing, socially interactive shooting games. Well, it's not socially interactive if you sat on your sofa in your skivvies. Just, stop your name and then get a life.
And the big thing that Xbox, one of the big things that Xbox console showed to me were like, it was masterful. Like you start off with that Metal Gear Solid 5. That was, I actually mistook that for real life at a point. And they're they were like just showing how they was a lot of content for the game. We got World of Tanks exclusive. We have Source.
Isaiah, you're kind of weaving out on us, buddy.
Sorry.
We didn't hear you. You started talking exclusives and we didn't hear you. You look, but here's the thing, buddy. You looked exclusively great doing it.
It was very, very thought provoking. It was very.
I mean, they showed a variety of exclusives. Is what I'm saying. Like, and they showed a variety of games. Sony, they mainly showed shooters and
a racing game. Microsoft they showed a fighting game. They showed a cartoony shooter game. They showed Quantum Break, which looked like a TV style series. They showed like a very Japanese dragon game,
Yeah.
and then they ended it with Titanfall, which looks crazy. I mean,
The thing with Sony's press conference too was a lot of the games that they showed you could also play on the Xbox.
yeah,
I mean, like going back to Final Fantasy, that used to be a solely Sony thing. Now you can play it on the Xbox, and I think that's more divided the masses wherever they try to pick up a console.
yeah, that was the biggest thing I saw yesterday was Sony. They showed off a lot of like you were saying, content that you can get on Xbox. It's like they showed Final Fantasy 15. I was like, oh, that's a nice. Microsoft was like, we got Killer Instinct. You're not going to see that on a Sony console. I mean, and then just with Sony, they also spent time with the PS3, and the way they seem to have dropped the Vita doesn't give me that much confidence.
Well, they did announce those 2 games, but
yeah, but one of them was God of War 1 and 2, right? I mean, I've played that 5-6 years ago.
Did you see though that the Vita's interactivity with the PlayStation 4 though? I find interesting. The fact that you can use
that's almost like a homage or rip off to Microsoft Smart Glass with Microsoft.
Yeah, it's basically Microsoft, and that was another thing. Sony, they showed off a lot of stuff that Microsoft had already showed off earlier in the day. It was like, oh, we got our tablet thing, and it was like, well, Microsoft did that last year, and they showed that today. Right. They're like, oh, we can it's like we got our movie stuff. Look at all our movie stuff, and then Microsoft was like, "Oh, we did that last week." So I mean, and from a feature perspective, the way that Microsoft showed last week was to being able to talk to your TV. Thank you very much. But
of course,
see, I'm actually one of the things that I really liked about Sony's presentation was, I think they came out swinging in a way that they needed to establish a connection with the core gamer. Here's the thing. I want this generation to continue to be a boxing match between 2 companies, because I think as gamers, we benefit if both companies are hitting home runs. If you have a definite dominant company, that's when I don't know how many of you grew up with the 8-bit Nintendo, but like I grew up with that. And it was an amazing system, but towards the end of its life cycle, especially when there was no competition, there was so much garbage put out on that thing that was because there was no competition out there.
Oh, what? No, you didn't like the Superman game on there? That was just that's top notch. That's the pinnacle of gaming right there.
So, what did you guys think of Super Smash Brothers 3DS and Wii U? They just announced that today.
Yeah.
Mega Man is going to be a playable character.
One of Nintendo's brilliant moves, I think, in all of this, and it's something that I really like about them as a company when it comes to realizing that there is no way on earth, if you're going on specs and visuals, they're going to compete with these 2 juggernauts with what they've got out there. They've gone out of their way to say we're different. I think they're presenting differently was a good move. I know they took a lot of flack for that, but to sit there and say, hey, we're looking for a different audience, an audience that looks at us as a different sort of company. We do not have the specs and the power that they do, but you're also not going to be able to, that new 3D Mario game, I think looks like, immediately when I was seeing it, I'm like, oh, 3D Mario again. But then when you watch the video of it and you see 4 players playing that thing, I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted from Super Mario 64, to be able to jump in with friends. I think that stuff is great.
I think an advantage that Nintendo has, though, is that they really don't need to compete on specs because they're not going for a very realistic look.
Right.
I mean, I thought Mario Kart looked amazing, and Smash Bros. And stuff. I thought all their games looked really good visually because of the art style, and not because they were going uber graphics. The only thing I was really disappointed was the 3D Mario game. I got 3D Land on my 3DS, and I really like it. One of my favorite games, but I was expecting something like Super Mario Galaxy or Super Mario 64 to blow me away. And then with Retro Studios working on Donkey Kong, I wish they were working on Metroid or something better for their talent.
I just look at it like the Wii U. It's just it's for it's just a different. It's just for that that real younger market that that's not really going to care what the specs are. What the specs are, the visuals are, and stuff like that. Now, you can't bring it to my house because I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to
Yeah.
chuck that in
Yeah,
the
I mean,
trash, and I'm
well,
not
I
asking
mean,
you to bring the. Now I'm not saying that it's a bad system. For me,
yeah.
it's just I'm not me and my friends are not going to sit there and play. You're not even getting Madden on there, so what's the point
Yeah.
of me? What's the point of me even
Yeah, but I
buying
mean,
it and stuff of that
I
sort?
think
So
Wait, guys, hang on
I
one
think the
second. Guys, wait, hang on one second. Mark, go ahead. There's something you were going to say too.
I was just going to say that the problem Nintendo are going to have is that if they're going down this line of they're going to appeal to a different audience, they're going to find themselves appealing to a niche market. And the problem with a niche market is in the industry they're in, they are not going to make enough money to survive and progress. Which is why I think
Good job, Mark.
Nintendo, as a console maker, in the near future may not be around, and they'll just have to stick to making games.
yeah, I mean, the thing with Nintendo is they haven't been looking at it as a worldwide market. They still look as they cater to Japan. And what makes it worse is that I'm a Nintendo fanboy, and I know, like, I go on Go Nintendo and a lot of the major Nintendo websites. Nintendo fanboys, I'm gonna be honest, they let them get away with it. Like, if you go to try to insult Nintendo or even with third-party support, I've read a lot of stuff today on like Nintendo Life and stuff where it's like, we don't need third-party support, or who cares about third-party games when we got first-party, and that doesn't sell your system. I mean, I want my Marios and my Zeldas and stuff and my Halos, but at the same time, I also need my Madden, my FIFAs, and everything to go along with it. I mean, a well-balanced diet, if you will.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to money, and they won't be making enough of it.
I do think where Nintendo succeeds, and this is just speaking as somebody who's seen a family who, like, I've got a lot of members of my family who are not gamers, and they have Wiis. My mom has a Wii at her house for the family. My nieces and nephews who, like, their families never bought them a game console before, they own a Wii. Because one of the, I think, distinctions that Nintendo did with the Wii, and this is what they need to do with the Wii U, they established that is the type of console you can sit around and everybody can get involved with, which I think is different than the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and it's not an insult to them. I think for us as gamers, when I think of sitting in front of a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360, I think of connecting with people outside of the unit, not connecting with people in my living room as much. Yes, you can do that. You can hand the controller over to people, and you can do like multiplayer games that way, but I do think that those units tend to be more online connected, with the idea of being connected with people outside your home. I think Nintendo has in an interesting way with the Wii, and I don't know if they can do this again with the Wii U, and I do think it's something that they've got to focus on if they want to set themselves apart. They need to focus on the living room experience that they can make with the Wii U and set themselves aside as being something, if your grandparents are in the room, like we had with that Super Mario Brothers game that came out, the new Super Mario Brothers for the Wii. My wife's parents, who don't like gaming at all, were trading off the controller and playing that game. And yet I tend to be more of a hardcore gamer, I was being able to have my hardcore gaming experience where I'm trying to collect all the power-ups and things along the way because I care about that. They're having just as much fun playing with me while I'm doing that stuff, yet they've never played the game before in their life and likely won't play again for a long time. But because they were in the living room, the experience was accessible. I think for Nintendo to succeed this generation, they need to capture that kind of market.
I think the problem with that is that the Wii U really isn't isn't capturing that market,
right?
Because we had Wii Sports, so you learned Wii Sports, which is a simple concept. You got a wand, and it's like you're playing basketball, you're like you're playing baseball, and anybody can pick that up. And then those people who picked up Wii Fit and picked up Mario. If you look at the game they put out with the Wii U, Nintendo Land, that is some of the most confusing stuff I've ever played, and I'm a hardcore gamer. And it's not something I can just hand off to my mom. You got one person with the gamepad, 3 other people with the controllers, and it's trying to say it's way more complicated than the regular Wii is.
the problem with that business model as well is, I mean, it would be awesome if all the consoles could survive, but if you're going down that business model of trying to game for that market, you're aiming for people that are going to buy maybe 1-2 games a year, where the PS4 and the Xbox, they're going to be buying like maybe a game every 2 months, and it all starts to add up. So it's a case of they've either got to capture a huge audience that are going to buy 1 or 2 games a year, or come up with a different business model.
So,
I think all 3 systems, though, one of the things that they're going to need, and I think this is pretty much, kind of goes back to our original discussion. We were talking about the PS4, what we didn't see. We need killer apps. Like, what is that thing that sets aside the one system from the other? Like, Kingdom Hearts 3, I loved Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. For me, I don't know if you guys are into that game at all, but I love that series. I'm a Disney fan. I liked the idea of being Sora because I felt like I was popping into that world and all the characters were hanging with me. So, like, that's a type of game I like, but that's also available on Xbox One. So, it's another app that, like, if I'm trying to decide between the 2 systems, I need those killer apps that distinguish one from the other. The same thing goes with the Wii U. I think we're starting to see finally Nintendo roll out some of the games with Super Smash Brothers. I thought that 3D Mario game with its interactivity, Mario Kart, I thought it looked great. We're finally starting to see those killer apps coming at a time where Wii U really needs it now. They also need a price drop, because they can't be pumping out a system at $349 when for $50 more you can pick up a PS4. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I always have the thought that people go out and buy Mario, people go out and buy Zelda, but for how much longer people are going to be willing to do that? Because they came out with Super Smash Brothers 8. So are they going to be able to go up to 10, 11, 12?
I mean, we're at Final Fantasy 15, so...
True.
I mean, and that's really not the 15th game if you count all the spin-offs and stuff. So, I mean, I think Nintendo has to be able to take their properties and keep them relevant, cultivate them more. And I think they've done a good job thus far, but they walk this fine line between making games that are very easy, that are making games that are accessible, and making games that aren't accessible at all.
Well, what they need though is another set of franchises to pop up, like Animal Crossing, like Pikmin, like stuff like that. Those ones that are crazy out there franchises. Pokemon was a great example of something where that's away from your Mario, your Metroids, and things like that. And arguably, Metroid is more of a hardcore fan game than being the universal appeal of some of the other ones. But Nintendo needs to continue to develop those new franchises while relying on their older ones. And I think that same criticism can be leveled at Xbox One and PlayStation 4. They need to be giving us those new experiences that set their system aside.
I think Xbox did a good job of showing new stuff yesterday.
Yes.
And with Nintendo, they've been putting a lot of new franchises on the 3DS, but they've been leaving the Wii U out to pasture. Like, I look at my 3DS, and most of the content I have for it is like digital downloads that was like new IP, like Dylan's Rolling Western and stuff. And they're like very good games, and I'm just wondering, like, why haven't they tried to promote that type of stuff more? Like you're saying, Animal Crossing. I've seen a ton of people playing Animal Crossing lately, and the game has done incredibly well. So, I mean, I think Nintendo still has it in them. And even with their existing franchises, I think it would be great if they were to, I hate to use this term, but babies first. Like, take Legend of Zelda. You kind of position Legend of Zelda as babies first Skyrim. It's like that type of getting somebody into that style of game, just as for kids. You got Dragon Quest, which is kind of like kids first Final Fantasy. Stuff like that.
Yeah, there's an interesting point to that, being that the launching system, except as somebody who's liked Nintendo since I was a kid, like when I pick up Mario, I don't feel like I'm playing a baby game. I get your point as far as that's very accessible to a younger crowd, but there's also those hardcore nuances in there where there's if you know a little bit more about the nuances of the game, if you know to look in this corner and to jump up a little bit higher over here, you're going to find the hidden things that are really challenging to get to, and you're going to die 700 times trying to do that. And that's the balance that they somehow managed to put in their games that give that replayability. It's easy to beat the level initially, but to go back through and get all the stuff, you got to go back through and really look everywhere and spend a lot of time.
Well, I mean, Mario is like that, but I don't find Zelda to be that accessible to most people. Like, have you played Skyward Sword yet? The way you have to control it is if you were using an actual sword. I wouldn't consider none of the Zelda games to be that casual related. Even the Game Boy ones, like the 2D ones, are very hardcore focused. I mean, and I think they would do better with bringing some of their old franchises. Like, they brought Kid Icarus back last year, and they brought it back in this kitschy way where it was kind of like they played off the storyline as if it was a Saturday morning cartoon. They're like, it did real good with the nostalgia crowd and just having a lot of surprises. Like, I know after you beat the 5th mission, that kind of completes the first arc as you was like watching an anime. They kind of roll the credits, and then the like main villain of the game is like, hold up, stop. The game isn't over yet, and then like the credits roll backwards, and he's like, "It's time to battle me." And it's like, so I mean, and then they have games like Star Fox is a game I'm surprised really has been brought back because I think it's kind of like Star Wars with animals. I mean, that kind of has a lot of appeal.
So is it Star Wars with animals? Isn't that Return of the Jedi?
Ewok. I just watched the Ewok.
Bad rap.
I did watch that old Ewoks movie too. What was it? The Endor one.
The Ewoks are awesome. Hey, people hate on Ewoks and hate on Jar Jar. I was listening to the podcast earlier about Star Trek and Star Wars, and just like the way people like you're talking about how Jar Jar Binks in the movies, he really doesn't get that much, but in the Clone Wars show, I think he had a very good role for the little comedic relief. And it's kind of like the droids. I find the droid army to be lame as hell when you're watching them on the movies because they're kind of no personality. But when you put them on the show and they have like all the dialogue about not wanting to die and just talk about different things, they were like the highlight of the show.
Clone Wars is a fantastic cartoon for taking characters that I don't think got exactly what you're talking about. They didn't get enough screen time to be established, and they took them to a new place. I agree with you about Jar Jar. I think Jar Jar was polarizing in the films for people. I think Jar Jar works incredibly well in the multiple seasons of Clone Wars because of the way that they utilize him there, and they actually embrace a lot of what annoyed people about him in the films.
I think what got a lot of people annoyed with Jar Jar Binks was that you had two groups of people going to see The Phantom Menace. You had the people that had originally seen the first 3 films when they came out and understood them, and then you had these kids that were going to their first ever Star Wars film.
Yeah, so
they had 2 different sets of expectations. And when you're I'm 37, so you go and see a film, Jar Jar Binks rocks up, and you're thinking, what the hell it's got to do with the dark side of the Force?
I mean,
you have to get away from that and think it's a kids' film. That's what it is. At the end of the day, it's a kids' film.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 21 and The Phantom Menace was my first Star Wars movie, and I remember going to see it like Jar Jar Binks, see all funny. It was just the dude with the 2 double-bladed laser sword, and they're all fighting. But then like older people who were like went to see the movie with me, it was like, that's not Star Wars.
I was lucky enough to where whenever they were re-releasing the like New Hope and all that, whenever they were re-releasing them on theaters, I got to see that before Phantom Menace and all that. So I got to have that epicness of the first trilogy and sat down and go, okay, this is the new trilogy in a way.
While we're on the topic of Star Wars,
wait, hold on. I'm sorry, I hate to do this. Am I the only one that noticed that Isaiah just got a power up? Like there was some kind of music playing, he was doing a little dance. I expected him to like start bouncing or something. Like I don't know, like what library do you go to?
Limit break. It's a limit break.
My library's like so boring. Your library is like concerts and power ups and like what like
for relating it to the comic books. I live in Detroit, Michigan. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually in the same library that was in Vibe, the Skillman branch.
Oh, cool.
I'm in that exact library right now.
Are you there? Now, let me ask you this. Are you there because it was in Vibe? Or
I used to go there. I used to go there a lot when I was in high school, after school, to like study and just hang out with friends and stuff. And so I remember picking up that issue of Vibe, and I was like, Skillman branch. And I like ran and was like, went to the library, was like, hey, you guys are in the book. So, I mean.
I love that when he says the name of the branch, that gets a musical tone too.
All right, I gotta go, you guys. I'll probably try to get on if I can get to another place with internet because library's closing.
I think I'm more fascinated about like where he would go.
You guys keep me up right now.
Yeah, they're kicking me out.
Like
Stephen,
where?
Just gone 1 o'clock over here.
The Soprano, she's coming.
Run!
Gotta run.
I love that Isaiah's just turned viral.
Yeah. I see the hits. I just see the hits all over the place. 1 million already, just coming.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna wrap up here too, guys. But
Good.
it was great talking to you guys. This is a fun little experiment. I'm actually anxious to see how the audio comes out from this one, and we'll have to do one of these again. This was fun.
Oh, you got to title it somewhere. Sopranos on here. Sopranos somewhere title in this episode.
Yeah, Soprano will definitely come in somewhere. Is there anything else? Actually, you guys, before we log off, is there anything else you guys wanted to throw out about comics or E3 or something? Our discussions that we had. Is there anything else that?
Like I've said on the forums, man. If you guys aren't reading, Batman Little Gotham, you're just missing. You're missing something, mighty special because just this Father's Day one I gave to my dad. And he loves the Barbara Gordon and Talia al Ghul sort of a standoff that they had, and Commissioner Gordon and Ra's al Ghul fighting over the check for the restaurant. That's just it's just precious stuff that is it's just if you guys are you're not reading that, you're just missing out.
You tweeted that, didn't you?
Yeah.
All right, if I have to recommend anything right now, Green Arrow, my favorite book of the DCU right now. I mean, they're taking Green Arrow, taking him back as a street level character with a little mysticism. It reminds me a lot of the Immortal Iron Fist with all the different type of clans and battle styles. And then the one thing I'm looking most forward to coming out of E3 was Battlefront, Star Wars.
Nice, yeah.
All right, I'll catch you guys later.
Take care, buddy.
Okay.
Jeremy, what about you?
Yeah. For recommendations, third party, Rachel Rising has been really good. It's basically Salem witch trials in modern day with Terry Moore. And E3, them showing off a teaser trailer for Mirror's Edge made me very, very happy inside. That was something I think a lot of people have been waiting for at least 5 years now.
Mark, what about you, buddy?
For me, anything at the moment written by Jeff Lemire. I'd never heard of him before the New 52. He's just absolutely blown me away. And if there was a reward for comeback comic of the year, it would have to be Jeff Lemire's Green Arrow.
What about? Have you read Sweet Tooth from him?
No, I haven't branched out into the Vertigo titles as yet. I've got too many to read as it is, and start buying more.
Yeah, but if you're a Lemire fan, I'll recommend two things: Essex County and Sweet Tooth.
I'll give them a shot. Are they in trades at the moment or anything?
Oh yeah. And Essex County is very contained, and Sweet Tooth is very contained too, as far as something that's easy and accessible to pick up. But if you're liking his work, that's the only reason why I'd recommend it, because that was the stuff that got me. Sweet Tooth is what got me into him. Essex County I grabbed after reading Sweet Tooth, and you'll just adore it. He's amazing.
At the moment, for me, he's rivaling Snyder as the best writer at DC at the moment.
Yeah, I was so glad to see a writer branch out of Vertigo into DC successfully, because that doesn't always work so well. And that's not a knock on Vertigo writers. I think what it is I think he came in at the right time to have the freedom on certain books like Animal Man and stuff, where he was allowed to do his thing. And I think, I think the Vertigo writers are very, very creative that they've had throughout the years at DC. And I think if you let these people have the kind of flexibility to really develop the kind of book that matches, their style, they can translate really well into superhero comics and give us something new. And Animal Man's a great example of a book that I think, since he's been on, since that launched, has really given me a very new take on what comics are.
Justice League Dark with Lemire has been really good too.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of that whole era, one of my biggest fears was when Snyder left Swamp Thing. I thought, this is going to go downhill. No, I can't think of his name, but the chap who's taken over Swamp Thing has just carried that on, and he's just doing an awesome job. So Swamp Thing and anything written by Jeff Lemire, that's what I'd recommend.
Okay, well guys, First of all, Jeremy, I want to thank you because you kind of spearheaded this time around, and it was just a cool idea. And I just, for me, whether or not this comes out as a great audio or not, it's irrelevant. It was really just great to kind of have an opportunity to branch out and do this, because with podcasting every week, a lot of times I don't have the chance to do this and really kind of connect with people who listen to the show, or even just the fact that I think the Facebook group has grown so far beyond the podcast, because so many people are spearheading and posting things all through pop culture in there that it's kind of a group of its own, which I love. So it's great to have an opportunity just to be able to chat with you guys and just really kind of enjoy this interconnectivity that we all have. So thanks a lot for putting this together, and guys, thanks for coming, because this was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just perfect. Well, where's the applause now? I'm missing something, man.
Well, Soprano took him and is chasing after Isaiah. I don't know.
Oh, this is good. This is good.
All right, guys, take care.
Take care.
You too.